It's great to see so many people here. I tell you what, before we get started, why don't we take a moment to welcome Aspen Thomas to the front. She's going to sing a little song for us to set the tone of the evening. Aspen. Do you use the mic? Okay. Then you might need to stand back here. Is that okay?
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, all the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets sprang there, our bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the
Well, thank you very much. That was just stunning. Very, very good. Very cool. Great way to start the night. And I don't know how to follow that, but my name is Michael Monks. I'm the editor and the publisher and the janitor-in-chief over at the River City News based in Covington. And we've been covering the city of Dayton and its politics and its culture for the past year or so, and it's been a great time. I know that this is a community full of highly engaged individuals with a lot of interest in this particular election. I received more than 100 questions from citizens leading up to the debate. More than 80 of them came from one guy, but there's a lot of interest in this race, and the questions were really good. So you all are very smart, and unfortunately we don't have a lot of time to ask all those questions, so we picked between 5 and 10 solid ones, and I hope that we get a good variety of topics, and that if you are not satisfied with the level and depth of the questions that were asked here tonight, that you take the opportunity to approach the candidates directly. From my experience, they're all very open to answering whatever questions that you might have. But it's a very important election, and the votes need to be taken very seriously. And I think these candidates understand that, and I think you do too. So let's get started. The way that this is going to work is each candidate will get I believe 90 seconds to introduce themselves, and then I'm going to ask some questions, and they'll have 1 minute to answer those questions. We've allowed 75 minutes for the city council portion of this, and then we will proceed to the mayoral portion, which has a 45-minute time limit. So we'll start at the far end with Joe Neary, and we'll work our way back down here to Denny Lynn, and then we'll start with the questions. We'll start with 90-second introductions.
It's a lot different than 2 years ago, I'll tell you. I believe that working to make your community a better place is everybody's civic duty. I've only lived in Dayton for a little bit over 8 years, but I feel that I've made a lot of positive changes in our city. I'd rather get things done than talk about them, so I've listed some of my community service in my ads and in my handout that my wife has. Let's just say that I've volunteered hundreds of hours with a lot of different people, many of them up here, on some great projects that make Dayton a better place. I've attended almost every city council meeting, every Board of Adjustments and Main Street Board meeting, and a lot of other city and school meetings. I'm already familiar with how the city functions, the city budget, the interlocal agreement for the fire department, the developer's agreement for the riverfront project, and the city ordinances and state laws that we have to follow. I've worked with outside agencies, with the investors that we need to attract, and most importantly, I've worked for and with a lot of different citizens in Dayton. I don't need time to learn on the job. Most importantly, I'm willing to help others get up to speed and get the city on the right track. I know some folks might be undecided on the 6 votes for the city council, but to move our city forward, we need a council that will cooperatively work with all of our city employees and the mayor with respect for everyone's priorities. So vote for the candidates that have already shown that they can work together with others on a team so we can get to work and move our city forward.
Thank you, Joe.
First of all, I'd like to thank the volunteers who put together this event for the evening for our citizens. I'm honored to find myself amongst others who have such passion for our town and are willing to selflessly serve for the betterment of all of our neighbors. In the past years, I've volunteered alongside our city employees and other volunteers and have served on Main Street Board, Planning and Zoning Board, and volunteered for the Civic Club, Dayton Youth, football, baseball, high school, elementary, and many other events to better our town of Dayton. I'm a founding member of the Riverfront Committee, committed to bringing a pier to the riverfront to make sure that the river is accessible by all of our Daytonians. As a council member, I will continue to market Dayton to our current residents, as well as new residents and new businesses that will bring in more tax dollars, that will bring down our tax dollars. I want storefronts filled, and I've got ideas to help that happen. I'd like to encourage all of our elected officials and our citizens to donate your time, and donate your energy to our schools, for when they succeed, we succeed. I'm looking forward to raising a family here in Dayton and sending my children to public schools because I believe they will get a good education and a good upbringing. I love Dayton football. I find myself there every Friday night. I will continue to support our police and our fire departments, for they're truly brave and they serve our city well, saving lives on a daily basis. Lastly, as a council member, I will work with all of those elected, mayor and council, to make sound decisions that make sense. The only agenda I believe in is one that makes sense for Dayton, to make a better community for tomorrow. I know in my heart I've done a lot in the last few years, and I would love the chance to do more if given the opportunity.
Thank you, Ben.
For your support.
Who's Ben Baker?
First, I want to thank the Meet the Candidates Board for putting this event together, and for Michael Monks for monitoring tonight. Thank you. I am a lifelong Campbell County resident. I've always lived no more than a couple miles from the Ohio River. I moved to Dayton 3 years ago, a month after my wife and I married. Although we have not spent our first 40 years in Dayton, we plan on spending our next 40. What Dayton needs are council members who can work with teams and build consensus. I decided to run for council because I have the skills and the work experience to do just that. As a project manager for a commercial kitchen equipment contractor, my job requires me to work with a variety of trades and engineers to come up with solutions and overcome obstacles. In short, it requires teamwork. Our current city council is a divided council. While I'm in favor of having a diversity of opinions, and debate is healthy when it comes to how our city is governed, the debates often get overshadowed by personal differences. We need a council that can set these aside to do what's right for the citizens of Dayton. On November 4th, if you want to vote for a candidate with experience and not an agenda, vote for me, Jeff Haas.
Thank you, Jeff. Jerry Gifford.
My name's Jerry Gifford, as you all know, most of you. I've lived here all my life. My wife and I were married at St. Bernard Church. Our children, and my wife as well, went through the Dayton school system. My job, and I consider myself a senior citizen, but I still rock and roll, so that counts a little bit. My job is to make sure that our community is safe, our community is taken care of, and sometimes we don't agree. Sometimes people can't agree on everything, and that's really a good thing, because if everyone shakes your head up and down just to agree, it doesn't work. We have to have input, and we have to be positive about our city. I've always been positive. I've done the things that I need to do, and I would continue to do for you all. And I care about our city. I care about our school system. I don't need to go into volunteering because I've done it. This is what I'm concentrating on. I want to be a better council person, and I want to make this a better city. Thank you.
That was Jerry Gifford. Let's welcome Joseph Tucker.
As Michael said, my name is Joe Tucker, and what I want to do tonight is just tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a graduate of Dayton High School, a lifelong resident here in Dayton. I'm also a graduate of Northern Kentucky University, where I majored in business administration. Currently, I'm self-employed. I've been self-employed for about 5 years now. I'm a real estate investor predominantly here in the Northern Kentucky area. I'm recently married to my wife Taryn, and we have a 10-year-old son that attends school here at Lincoln Elementary. And that kind of leads into why I want to be on council. I feel like that we've kind of laid our roots here. I've always been here, but I don't plan on leaving either. We have put a lot of time and effort over the past couple of years, whether it be youth groups or school functions, stuff like that, putting on our work and time. But we'd also like to take that next step, and I feel that the hard work that I can provide will also help better the community as a whole. So I look forward to getting an opportunity to do that, and thank you guys for your support.
Thank you, Joe. Bill Burns.
Thank you. Like I said, my name is Bill Burns. First off, I want to thank Mike and Sandy and Barry for putting on this event. Another volunteer group that does a lot of great things in the city of Dayton. I must tell you, when I walked into this building again tonight, and every time I walk in this building, I walk through hallowed walls. The men and women who gave their ultimate price and gave their life for this country to keep us free. But I also remember a long time ago, and I know some of you will remember it, the Dayton Drum and Bugle Corps that was done in this building. I want to tell you about why I run for the city of Dayton and what's helped me along my way. My mentors in my life have been Lee River. Some of you may know him. Lee took me as a 24-year-old man straight out of service and said, "You must do something for the city." Then there was a gentleman named Harry Rifkin. I look at some of you senior citizens out there, and I know you remember Harry Rifkin. Harry Rifkin had a shoe store in this town. And some of you know my story. My story is I was the last of 17 children. So we didn't have a lot of money. But my mother took me down to Harry Rifkin's shoe store and said, he needs a new pair of shoes, and he said, pay me 50 cents a week. That's what a volunteer does. Miles Vaught, there's been so many other ones that's taken me under the wing and taught me you must do something for the city of Dayton. I won't tell you what I've done. I learned many years ago to do something for the right reason. My mother taught me at an early age to do something and want nothing in return. So the things I do, I don't want nothing in return.
Thank you, Bill. That's it, right?
Hi, my name is Leslie Carr, and I'd like to say that my vision for the city of Dayton is I'd like to develop a strategic approach to further establish a community where people want to live, work, play, and learn. It's a concept that's usually referred to as placemaking, because we have the opportunity to enhance our public spaces into quality gathering places that engage our residents, visitors, and stakeholders. And yes, public art is a large part of it, creating vibrant places. We need to create some safe, walkable, and welcoming, well-lit streets and green spaces with sustainable environmental practices and preserving our historic structures as key elements. So about me, I purchased an old home here in 2005. It was a 4-unit rental when I bought it. I converted it to a single-family home. I've been actively restoring it ever since. I've been appointed to the Board of Architectural Review for the Historic Preservation Committee, served on the Main Street Board. I volunteered at Lincoln Elementary to expand their art curriculum and organized Art on the Avenue, a festival for 3 years in a row.
Thank you, Leslie.
Oops.
That's okay. 90 seconds go by fast. Kathy Volter.
Good evening. I'm Kathy Bolter, and I would appreciate your vote for City Council. If reelected to council, my number one priority is to continue to serve you, the citizens, by focusing on continuing on the following. I'd like to work to provide the police and fire departments with necessary resources, financing, and personnel to continue to keep our communities safe. Networking with organizations outside the city to protect and promote our city's best interest. I would like to continue being a liaison between Dayton schools and the city to promote a working relationship that ensures community pride. I'm currently researching and plan to help implement new and innovative ways to attack blight in our city. I participate in all required meetings as well as community meetings that occur in town. As always, I have an open door policy to listen to any citizen who has a concern. I love this town, and my pledge to you is to make informed decisions with your input and best interest in mind.
Thank you, Kathy. Jennifer Sierra.
I should be your next city council representative because I believe in and I am passionate about our community. And I work hard for our community. I have over 20 years of experience in running a business. I have the business skills necessary to make good financial decisions for our town without having to raise taxes. I also have the modern business skills necessary to promote the city and network with people outside of our town. I have been an active volunteer in Dayton for many years. I have proven leadership skills by sitting as both president on the Dayton Main Street Association and the Board of Architectural Review. I'm a good listener. I'm approachable and not condescending. I respect the opinions of others, even when they do not agree with me. But I am not a pushover. I am not running against the other candidates. I'm running with them. I can continue to make progress happen in Dayton without sacrificing the city's heritage or history. Most importantly of all, I will fight to make good things happen for Dayton, and I will listen to what the citizens want, because in the end, it's the citizens of Dayton that are hiring me to represent them, not me pushing my own agenda. I have no political aspirations here. I'm simply running to help the city that I chose to live in. I could have lived anywhere in the tri-state area, but I wanted to live in Dayton because I saw a lot of potential here. Thank you.
Denny Lynn.
Good evening. My name is Denny Lynn, and I'm a candidate for Dayton City Council. I've worked in this city for 38 years in the fire department. I retired as a fire chief for the city of Dayton and the FDBD, the fire department of Dayton. I have been married for 37 years. I have 3 adult children and 3 grandchildren. If I'm your choice to become a council member for this city, I will work to keep the fire and police department high, to their highest standard, and try and find ways to increase the manpower and equipment that they will need with the development and the growth that is going on in the city of Dayton. I will also keep an eye on the budget. I would like to try and find ways to cut the taxes and work with the council on doing that. I would also like to work with the Main Street manager and their committee, which they've really got a nice committee put together to help them find ways to build up our central business district, which has been one of the top priorities in this city probably for the past 10 plus years. Also, I would work to fight for the blight problems that we have in town. And then finally, I would also, the most important one to me is listen to the citizens of their comments and their concerns for the city of Dayton. Thank you.
You can hold on to that. Okay, these are your candidates. The way this will work is we've just got the one mic, so in the spirit of cooperation, we will just pass the mic down. And since you've got it, Denny, we'll start with you. And then with each question, we'll figure out another starting point so that it's not always starting down here and we get a little variety in that respect. So our very first question, and you will have 1 minute to answer. What are your plans to attract small businesses, retail and otherwise, to the city center?
Well, I think first what we need to do is to get the owners of the buildings that are on 6th Avenue, get them together, and let's get them on the same page to make sure that we can get their buildings looking nicer, to draw the new businesses in that to Dayton. Also, we need to find if there's some type of a carrot, if you will, that we can dangle to these people to try and draw them into Dayton, that to make them want to come here. I know with the development behind the flood wall, I think that's going to be a starting point of getting new businesses to come to the city of Dayton.
Thank you, Denny. Same question, Jennifer. Do you need me to repeat the question?
Oh, the same question?
Same question, I apologize, yes.
Okay, well, that's a good question. I really have to agree with Denny. First of all, we have to fix up the blight, the building issues that we're having on Main Street, in the Central Business District specifically. We've tried a number of things. I sit on the Board of Architectural Review and the Main Street Association, and we've tried grants, we've tried all sorts of things to get these business owner or property owners to fix up their properties. Otherwise, businesses aren't going to want to come in and set up shop in a dilapidated building. We haven't had a whole lot of luck with that, and I think that we need to crack down a little bit more on the code enforcement, the blight that some of these buildings have, so that these buildings become more attractive to potential business owners. And let's get some real estate agents in here. Let's market this a little bit. I'd like to see a nice marketing plan for the Central Business District and maybe mock-ups of what it could look like and what it should look like.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Kathy, the same question. How would you attract business, retail, and otherwise to the city center?
I've given this a lot of thought most recently on filling up the Main Street empty storefronts, I should say. I do support our new Main Street manager, Anthony Cato. He's doing a heck of a job, and I think that he's done a lot of networking outside of the community, which is number one, to get out there and work with the other Main Street managers and see what works for them. I think we can identify more grants that would be available for our business development on the Main Street, and that's something I really propose we really hit hard on. We also need to think about incentives to entice businesses to Dayton, be it reduced rates on occupationals or something just to have a carrot over there. Additionally, I think we need to brand our community. We need to have something that's going to pop that Dayton's associated with, be it the top of the state or the tip of Kentucky, to get a brand out there and start working it like that, because marketing our most valuable resource as our location.
Thank you, Kathy. Leslie Carr.
Well, I think one thing that we're going to have to do is identify the market. What we have in our Central Business District is really smaller, boutique-type buildings with the great opportunity for galleries to display in those open windows. So we need to look for what fits for us. These jobs will be entrepreneurial, they'll be skill-based. I would rather see that than a multi-million-dollar corporation come in and give low-paying wages. So we need to identify who would want to come here. And I think that is more of the artisans and craftspeople and musicians. And in turn, that gives them a starting point. They really stand out because they're the first in the area. So that would be my solution, is that we effectively market to those types of businesses.
Thank you, Leslie. Bill Burns.
On January 1, the Main Street manager's job would be exclusively Main Street and Main Street only. That sounds a little harsh, but everybody wants to build the Main Street up, and he's doing everything, and he's doing a great job. But on January 1, his main job would be Main Street. Now, we can give them tax incentives, or We could give them a $5,000 loan. They would sign an agreement with us. And after 3 years, if they stayed here 3 years, they would not have to pay the loan back. That's how you get businesses in here. So that's some of the things I would do. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Joe Tucker.
This is something that I've talked a lot about and talked to a lot of people about, and I actually had a couple ideas on. One thing that I'll say, history has shown that we cannot continually bring in one shop at a time. It seems like we get a shop and it starts going well for a while, or we get a restaurant and it starts going well for a while, but they can't build on anything because there's nobody around them. So the idea that I had was more of an open house idea. You got to bring in everybody together at once. You have to bring in all the business owners together, get them together with realtors, open up one night of the year that we market to everybody in Northern Kentucky. Tell them that we are available, we are open as a city, so there are places here for you. And then when you bring them all in together, that's when they can start to build off of each other. You can't expect business owners to have one shop on every block and succeed. So I think that if we get them all in at once is how we can get them to grow.
Thank you, Joe. Jerry Gifford.
Well, I guess I have a little different take on this whole thing. I think that the walk-in trade in the Main Street area is not the way to go. I would like to see telemarketing places open up where they didn't depend on the walk-in trade, where we could have shops that were successful without depending on the people to spend their money. We'd love to have that, but I'm not sure that that will work, and that's just my opinion. The other thing is we need to kiss the butts of all the people who have businesses in this city right now and make sure they stay. We can't keep losing and can't afford to lose one more business. So those are my thoughts.
Thank you, Jerry. Jeff Haas.
Thank you. I think I have a different take as well. I think what would help our Main Street tremendously would be as if we had more businesses come into our industrial park. If I would work with Michael Giffen or the Main Street manager and try to come up with different incentive packages for different sized companies to come in and start utilizing that space. As that grows, that brings more people through our town, and they have to go through Main Street, which develops more traffic. And as that traffic grows and develops, that offers more opportunities for people to come in and open up a small business that not only the people of Dayton can patronize, but also the other businesses in the area.
Thank you, Jeff. Ben Baker.
I kind of agree with Mr. Gifford when he says that it may not be what we're expecting as far as what we see down the street with retail, but maybe a lot of different types of businesses. Just yesterday in the Business Courier, they were saying that there's a shortage of space for marketing companies to find headquarters for. And that's something that would work great within Dayton. We can see downtown Cincinnati from our front yards. We're an extremely viable community for such businesses. I think we need to use different marketing channels to find those companies, whether it's real estate agencies and other avenues to bring them into Dayton and offer them incentives to stick around.
Thanks, Ben. Joe Neary.
Everybody's talking about getting businesses, and we need customers in there. We lost Gilded Lily. We lost Wise Guys. I saw George Christofield on his last day crying because no one was coming there anymore, and he couldn't afford to keep it open. We can't subsidize businesses. If you're subsidizing the business, it's not worth it to have it in there. We can't give away rent. We don't have the money for it, for one thing, and that's not a good business plan. What we have to do is build a demand. And when somebody opens a shop, as citizens, you've got to patronize it. Buena Vita, 95% of their business is from outside of Dayton, and they give tens of thousands of dollars a year to our schools and all of our youth groups. We have problems in some of the neighborhoods with blight that's causing disturbances. We have parking issues on the avenue. It's no wonder that not many of these places are being rented. But we have to lean on the landlords. Millie's has been empty forever, and the landlord is out of state. Let's work with real estate agents. Let's find investors that are going to push these properties, and let's get some professional businesses in here, like IT industries or chiropractors. Low impact, low parking, high tax revenue.
Thanks,
retail.
Joe. Idea of public art, such as murals, and would you work with local organizations to produce them in the city?
Absolutely. I used to make my living as a fine art painter. I support public art wholeheartedly and was greatly disappointed that we lost a mural that went to Bellevue, Bellevue, Newport, and Covington. They all have these great murals by Artworks. We don't have that here. I think that it is an important part of a community. It makes us stand out. It makes us unique. It gives us pride and inspiration. Every time I drive by the mural in Bellevue, I love looking at it. Everybody knows it. It's gorgeous. Yeah, I support it. I'm going to do whatever I can to get Artworks back here and get a mural.
Thank you. Kathy Volter.
Most definitely, I support public art. Our school systems, as everybody reads in the paper, that's where the least amount of funding is given towards the kids that don't have an art background. It's really a severe outage in their education. As a community, if we can pull together and make that work, that would be so much more for them to take pride in their city. Additionally, it's a growing trend. It's a known fact that when there is art on buildings and art in the streets, there is less blight, there is less people doing graffiti and so forth, because it's a good feeling just to have art around in your community. So I definitely would support it.
Thank you. Leslie Carr.
Yes, I'm a big proponent of public art, whether it be murals, whether it's performance art. I can envision things happening like when we develop our trail, the safe route to school, to have a sculpture garden that goes along with that. One of the things that I've done with the city is identified funding opportunities. We can find grants. I've assisted in writing grants that the city has proposed. And I think that we can do it. It doesn't even have to be that much out of cost, out of pocket. But it does create an environment where people want to engage. They want to discuss it, whether they liked it or didn't like it. It creates a connectivity between our citizens. So yes.
Thank you, Leslie. Bill Burns.
Thank you. Do I like art? Yes, I love art. In fact, I still donate every year to the Fine Arts Fund of Greater Cincinnati. I started that about 30 years ago. But I also understand this, ladies and gentlemen. I want to see murals, I want to see art, but we got to pay for them. And if we don't have the money to pay for that, we just had an increase in salt. So if we can't afford salt, how can we afford some other things?
Thank you, Bill. Joe Tucker.
First, I would like to say, yes, I do support public artworks and things of the same nature. But like Bill said, I do also believe that you have to prioritize everything that you do in the city. I think that there are other ways to do some of the things that we like to do as far as art, especially if you can include things with the school and include things with the students, stuff like that, but it might be a cheaper option down the road. Everybody wants to bring up the things that have gone on in the past with the mural, but ultimately that is past. We need to move forward. We need to look at other options and bring in new things.
Thank you. Jerry Gifford.
Well, I think everyone knows my position on that situation. I do believe in art. I do believe that the class of 2013 had an expression that they were not allowed to use, and I wasn't real happy with that. And I also feel that we're all on the same page. If I don't get elected, that doesn't mean I'm not going to work for my city. I believe in the citizens. I've watched them build the park down there before anyone else was around. Some of the new people were here. The people in this town care. And if we're going to have a mural, we're going to try to build a pier. Let's do something that's real recognizable, not on the side of a building, but somewhere where everybody can say, hey, I was in on that. That's my feeling.
Thank you, Jeff Haas.
I do support any art project in the city. However, I'm from the same mindset as you guys, is that when it comes down to money, I think the only way to bring a project like that in is through grant money. If you can bring something to the city and say that, okay, it's not going to come out of our pocket, it's going to be easier for the people on council to approve that and work with you in getting something up that everyone in the community can enjoy and agree with. I think there's also other opportunities. I heard one of the citizens threw out maybe where the mural was going to be to move the student art project over to that location. I think that's a good idea. Let's talk about that. There's other ideas and other ways to get art in this community.
Thank you. Ben Baker.
I do support artworks and art. I'm a big fan of art, whether it be murals, whether it be sculptures, whether it be high school art. I'd love to see more of it in our community, and that can be through a lot of different avenues. There is money that's allocated towards that for grants that we should utilize before we take out of any other coffers for that, and we should use that money for that. It builds a community, it defines a community, and it lets our imagination run. So I am a supporter of art.
Joe Neary.
Could you repeat the question, Michael? Could you repeat that
I
question?
sure can. Do you support the idea of public art such as murals, and would you work with local organizations to produce them in the city?
I'm color deaf. I have Manimals tags on my clothes because I'm not an artist and I don't pretend to be one. But I know that the artistic community brings a lot to a community. Someone had mentioned before, you bring the artists in, they love the low rents. We're looking for something to put in the storefronts and in the apartments downtown. Let's attract some artists. Let's get that word of mouth, funky atmosphere, that branding for Dayton at this point in time. We've got the Lodge down there that has a great group of artists down there. And by art, I'm not just referring to paintings on a wall. I'm also referring to musicians. The Players Collective across the street, the next block down, has a great creative group of musicians in there. Those are the kinds of arts that we can use in a city to get started. Since we don't have the high-end rentals in this town, it's the best place to start. And a great place would be the second floor of the Ramey building. If you've ever seen that, that was once proposed as an artist studio, and I'd like to see it used for that again.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Yes, I do believe in the art, but I also think that, first of all, before you go putting a mural on the side of the building, you need to have a building that's worthy of having a mural put on the side of it. There's so many buildings in our central business district, like I said earlier, need to be upgraded and brought up to a higher standard to make that artwork look good. Again, I agree with my fellow candidates when they say about, you got to prioritize and be fiscally responsible where the money's coming from to do this mural. If you can get the grants, great. I'm all for it.
Thank you, Denny Lynn.